Hey guys, Rominating Reaper here. So I'm here in the Odyssey. That can only mean one thing. Yep, I'm heading up to Cineworld. And this is quite an exciting one. I'm about to head in to see Crime 101. Yep, this is the film with Chris Hemsworth and Halle. Trailers for this have looked quite interesting, and this does look exactly my kind of film, so I'm hoping it'll be good. Now the reason this is an exciting one is because I'm watching it in 4DX. Yeah, didn't expect that I'd be seeing this of all things in the format, but I'm hoping it'll be a good one for it. The only way to find out is to head in, get some snacks, and get seated. Crime 101 in 4DX. So yeah, as you can see, I've got my popcorn here and a mixed icy, ready for a contemporary crime thriller. Hang on a minute, is it really just me? Wow. So, Crime 101. I'm back from seeing it. This is written and directed by Bart Layton, the filmmaker behind American Animals and the documentary The Imposter. Now this looked to fill a bit of a void in terms of mid-budget, adult-oriented crime thrillers, because we don't really seem to get them much in cinemas anymore, because you look recently at something like The Rip, which, case in point, went straight to Netflix. It's just really nice to finally get one of these back on the big screen where they belong. And so obviously with a star-studded ensemble cast, this looked to be exactly the kind of slick, fast-paced thriller that is just right up my street. But does the film make a strong case for this kind of mid-budget, adult-oriented thriller returning to cinemas properly? Let's find out. So the film follows Mike, a professional thief based in LA who carries out all of his robberies along the 101 freeway. He is incredibly meticulous, leaving no trace of DNA behind, to the point that he has basically eluded the LAPD. One day he crosses paths with insurance broker Sharon, who gives him the opportunity of a lifetime. The kind of big score that would allow him to walk away from the game for good. However, an LAPD detective thinks he has found a pattern to Mike's crimes, and so is hot on his tail to finally bring this elusive criminal to justice. So you've probably taken a glance at the film's title, Crime 101, and you've probably thought to yourself that this just sounds like the million other generic crime thrillers that have gone straight to Netflix in the last few years. Well, sometimes you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, because, well, it turns out this is actually a really good film, one that is definitely worth checking out on the big screen. And if you're a fan of stuff like Heat, you're likely going to get a kick out of this one too. Now, obviously, from a story perspective, this isn't exactly anything particularly groundbreaking, because it does very much follow all the familiar tropes that you'd expect to see in a crime thriller like this. And obviously I mentioned Heat just there because, well, the comparisons are too obvious to ignore. I mean, they're both set in LA, they're both built around a game of cat and mouse between cop and criminal, and hell, both feature a romantic subplot involving the main criminal character. But the film takes these quite familiar story beats, and to its credit, it just executes them incredibly well. doesn't try to do anything too fancy or subversive, just take all these tried and true elements and just plays to their strengths. And it helps, there's a lot here to enjoy in this sort of sprawling LA crime saga, particularly the characters, who again have quite simple but very effective characterizations that are easy to connect to. Obviously, we have Mike, the main criminal, who's very slick and professional, but also kind of has trust issues. It means he can't hold down a relationship due to his career and lifestyle, and so he's very much looking for that one last job to get his way out for good. We also have Sharon, this insurance broker, who, despite being due a big promotion, after having been at the job for a long while, is still very much being pushed around by her bosses, and so very much decides to sort of stand up for herself and do something of her own. And of course, we also have Lou, this LAPD detective, whose methodology is not quite on the same page as the rest of his department, and in his personal life is struggling with marriage problems. And so these quite interesting characters give these, the actors, the chance to do great work, very much playing to their strengths as performers. Obviously, Chris Hemsworth is great as Mike. He's incredibly just cool, methodical, and charismatic, but also, yes, with that sort of, more fidgety, anxious nature beneath the surface due to his trust issues. He is great here. Halle Berry is also really good as Sharon, as is very much, defiant figure. He's very much just sick of being pushed around. She isn't a pushover, and so very much finds herself caught up in this, this sort of, crime saga as in an attempt to, try and do something of her own. And Mark Ruffalo as Lou very much gives that sort of Mark Ruffalo performance. You see Mark Ruffalo play a law enforcement officer. This very much is that performance, but it's a good one, so yeah. So, of course, he's going to do it again, and he does it well. There's also plenty of other great performances and actors in here as well. We all notably have Barry Keoghan as Ormond, who's a younger rival to Mike. We also have Monica Barbaro as Maya, who's Mike's love interest. We also have Corey Hawkins as Tillman, who's Lou's partner in the LAPD. And we even have Nick Nolte as Money, who's very much the sort of handler of Mike and Ormond. All of them do very, very good work, and they're all great with the simple but very effective characters they have to work with. And the film, to its credit, is a stylish looking one as well. Leighton really shoots this whole thing through with a real sense of energy and flair. There's obviously some subtle, quite smooth camera moves, notably some drone shots of the freeway where the camera slowly rotates. Very, very clever, and does also fit in those little subtle bits of visual storytelling, particularly in how it shoots around Mike's inability to make eye contact. It's just a very, very well made film, and it's, again, beautiful to look at. Obviously, these sort of neon lit streetscapes and sun kissed beaches of California and, yes, LA. It's just a absolute visual feast. But of course, what you're here for is, of course, well, the crime. And on that front, it really delivers the goods. There's some really great action sequences in here. Obviously, there are some great car chases and sort of standoffs and shootouts that are very, very well done. Obviously, it's more of a slow burn than you'd expect. But when the action comes, it delivers. And on that front, if you see this in 4DX, I would recommend to. Obviously, it's not like a must-see for the format, like something like Top Gun Maverick is, but the effects are very well deployed in these action sequences, and even some sort of subtle ones throughout the rest of the film as well, that you'll definitely get your money's worth, particularly in a centerpiece action moment involving a chase between Mike and Ormond that is, incredibly tense and thrilling. It is so brilliantly done. You can really see Leighton come into his own as a filmmaker here, and honestly, I definitely love to see him shoot some more action set pieces like this in future. Now, obviously, the film running at 2 hours and 20 minutes, it's definitely too long, and I think if you cut it down by about 10 or 15 minutes, the pacing probably really improved, because there are stretches where it does kind of drag on a bit, but again, because it's so well executed, it's easy to overlook this, especially when it reaches its climax, which, to its credit, very much ditches the Heat template and does its own thing in very interesting fashion, with some surprising moments and some big character payoffs. Yeah, I just had a great time with this, and if you're heading to the cinema to see it, I would definitely recommend you do so. Overall, Crime 101 is a thriller that takes its tried and true story elements and executes them incredibly well, with a compelling, sprawling crime saga, compelling characters, great performances, and thrilling action sequences. Out of 10, Crime 101 gets an 8. So, let me know down in the comments, have you seen Crime 101? What did you think of it? What did you make of it in comparison to Leighton's other films, American Animals and The Imposter? Have you read the short story that this is based on? And are you excited for what Leighton does next as director? And would you like to see more mid-budget thrillers like this get proper big screen releases? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new, and don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.